الحمد لله الصلاة والسلام على رسول الله رحمة المهدى والنعمة المزدى والاه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهد الله فهو المهتد ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا. ما بعد. We have class today, inshallah. Sorry that we didn't have class last week. I was out of country and we couldn't have substitute last week. But there's 2 classes from now to Ramadan, today and next Monday, inshallah. And then in Ramadan, we don't have the class during Ramadan. This 2 weeks, huh? The 4th. Ramadan is on the 10th. No, this and this. Yeah, that's what we decided. We're going to finish this, and then the second aspect of this chapter will begin after Ramadan, inshallah. Imam al-Ghazali, rahimahullah, now taking us to an exercise, how to measure the removing of arrogance from our heart. How do you measure that? He said first, there's a knowledge required, how to remove it, and then there's exercise. There's a practical aspect of it a person should do to know whether they have succeeded in removing the arrogance from the heart or not. He says, إلا أن النفس بعد هذه المعرفة قد تضمر التواضع وتدعي البراءة من الكبر وهي كاذبة. He said that a person maybe after knowing this and studying this, how to remove arrogance from the heart, a person might claim that now they no longer have arrogance in their heart. But he said, in order to test this, to put it to test, because he said, فإذا وقعت الواقعة عادت إلى طبعها ونسيت وعدها فعن هذا لا ينبغي أن يكتفي في المداواة بمجرد المعرفة بل ينبغي أن تكمل بالعمل وتجرب بأفعال المتواضعين في مواقع هيجان الكبر من النفس. He said in spirituality there's a theory and there's a practice. There's an abstract and there's an action. He said what he discussed is the diagnose, how to know the sign of arrogance, how to get rid of it. But he says, I'm going to give us something, he called it the 5 test. 5 ways to test ourselves. And those 5 tests, امتحانات, هي أدلة على استخراج ما في الباطن وإن كانت امتحانات كثيرة. He said, he given 5 examples, but he said there's so many tests, a moment of test to see whether we have the arrogance or not. But he says he's going to just highlight those 5. And if he started with a scholar, the biggest problem is the popularity of knowledge. Not even popularity of money. Because of popularity of knowledge, a person now assumes other people are less than them and they don't know anything, and therefore the intellectual superiority is very dangerous. And the fame of that is dangerous. Therefore, that's why he started with, because himself as a scholar, he struggled with that, and that's why he went to do this exercise himself of writing this whole Ihya Ulum ad-Din, because he was a popular scholar. Thank you. Was a popular scholar himself. That's why after he became popular, he took off. Imam Ghazali, rahimahullah. And he said, I'm going to discipline myself, prepare myself and come back to this, because now it become too much for him. Bismillah. For the first test, he said, for someone with knowledge. قال أن يناظر في مسألة مع واحد من أقرانه. A person might get into the debate with one of his peer or her peer. And if they have brought something of truth and they say something correct, and a person become difficult for them to accept it, that is a sign of arrogance. Sometimes happen even between the spouses. Forget about the peer. Husband and wife feel like who's going to win the argument. And if the wife showed him something that he thought that he knew, but he didn't know, he become, resisting that. Or the wife, that she maybe had more degree than her husband. When her husband showed her something and become arrogant accepting it. For he says the part of the test is that when you get into debate with one equal to you, your peer, and you do not acknowledge it, and that person says something profound or something good or says something correct or correcting us, and we have difficulty accepting it and acknowledging it, الاعتراف به, that's a sign of arrogance. والشكر له على تنبيهه وتعريفه وإخراجه الحق. Not only that, not to acknowledge it, but to thank a person, saying thank you for drawing my attention to this, thank you for correcting me, thank you for telling me something I didn't know. If he or she does not do that, that there's an arrogance. فيدل ذلك على أن فيه كبرا دفينا, it is hidden. فليتق الله, then the person should fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and start the remedy of that arrogance. And how? قال أما من حيث العلم في بأن يذكر نفسه خصة نفسه وخطر عاقبته وأن الكبر لا يليق إلا بالله تعالى, that the person remember that how humble they should become and really realizing the danger of the consequences of the arrogance. And al-kibr, Allah al-mutakabbir, the name of Allah, you know that? Why Allah is al-mutakabbir? Because he's real mutakabbir. There's nothing equal to him. Al-takabbur huwa al-tarafu'. And Allah is elevated over his creation. Of human being, we don't have that right, because what we assume that we know, we don't know, and we assume that we are the most powerful, we are not powerful. But Allah has all the power, all the knowledge. Therefore, He's al-mutakabbir, the mutlaq. There's no one like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Therefore, He's saying, what action a person should do? Now a person acknowledge the truth in the other person, coming from other person, like Imam Shafi'i said. Every time he debated someone, he prayed that they will see the truth. They will say the right thing. Because if they do so, he will learn something new. وأما العمل فأن يكلف نفسه ما ثقل عليه من الاعتراف بالحق ويطلق اللسان بالحمد والثناء. See, there's two components. One, acknowledging that this person have said the truth, acknowledging this person have knowledge, acknowledging this person have told us something that we didn't know, and then they go a step further by praising this person to say, Subhanallah, he's a scholar, he's a alim, she knew what she was saying about, to give them, praising them. ويقر على نفسه بالعجز ويشكره على الاستفادة ويقول ما أحسن ما فطنت له وقد كنت غافلا عنه. That what amazing thing that you have made me to become aware of, and I was not mindful of it. فجزاك الله خيرا كما نبهتني. May Allah reward you for bringing my attention to this. Why? فالحكمة ضالة المؤمن فإذا وجدها ينبغي يشكر من دله عليها. This is hadith of Rasulullah sallam. Al-hikmah dalatul mu'min. Lost property. Wisdom is a lost property of a believer. Whenever he or she find it, they claim it. It doesn't matter from whom it came. They say, khud al-hikmah, take wisdom from anyone, even a person who have no sanity. If you say something correct, take the hikmah from them. You know, the problem is that in America, for example, we have not created a safe space for argument and deliberation. People like, even their political view, if Adam Center does not do a particular thing their way, that means Adam is not good center. Why don't you, there's a room. Why you assume that you know all the truth and you own the truth? And this is an arrogance attitude. Alhamdulillah, we accept that the different view, then we have to accept, me personally, have to accept there's a view other than ours. You have to accept that, acknowledge that. But if a person say, only my view is the only view, and you have to submit to it. If you don't submit to it, I'm going to make your life difficult. I'm going to social media. I'm going to call you names. Yeah, why? Why you assume that you only person have the truth? That's the problem. Therefore, the arrogance, the attitude that people have of saying that we are the one who knows things, and therefore everyone has to submit to us, to our ideas. No. I might acknowledge your feeling about something, but you cannot demand that your opinion has to be imposed on community. You don't do that. For he says, the hikmah dallat al-mu'min. How do you know if there's wisdom or not? Exploring it by listening to other people. وَمَا ثَقُلَ عَلَيْهِ الثَّنَاء عَلَى أَقْرَانِهِ بِمَا فِيهِمْ فَفِيهِ كِبْرٌ. If that person have difficulty acknowledging the skill set of other people, if someone come to me, for example, he said to me, what do you know about, I use my brother here because it's always I see him. If somebody come to me and says, what do you think about computer, for example, Brother Rida. Or maybe I refer to Brother Rida Zarafsha, said, go and ask him about smart board. I don't know. You get my point? And it is not my area of expertise. And having us to admit that we don't know, having to acknowledge we don't know, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. It's not diminishing our status, not in the eyes of Allah. If people believe that if we said we don't know, that will become less, then they don't know how to evaluate people. Because if a person acknowledges, said, I don't know, you have to respect them more. Rather than the person making it up and insisting that they know. Brother Anwar just told me something that I didn't know. Just a minute ago. He come from overseas and told me that they have done programs and so forth and reducing, violation of women in a particular country. I have no idea. You have to know the limitations of knowing things, and give the expertise to people that is. Therefore, he says, Imam al-Ghazali, he said, if a person claims that they know everything, if somebody tells you something that I made a mistake on something, and somebody correct me, even if you have the Quran, and you made a mistake in a verse, and somebody behind you only memorized Juz Amma, which is, by the way, it's very interesting, that when the Huffaz make mistake in Juz Amma, the whole masjid correct them. When they're in the beginning of the Taraweeh, unless people hold the Mus'haf behind them. But if I cannot say, why this person corrected me? He's not Hafiz. فإن كان ذلك لا يدخل عليه في الخلوة ويدخل عليه في الملأ فليس فيه كبر إنما فيه رياء فليعالج الرياء بما ذكرناه من قطع الطمع عن الناس. سبحان Allah. Imam al-Ghazali is a psychologist in a good sense. He said a person might have a problem when they by themselves, when they go home, if somebody corrected them, they're not upset. They're upset only when somebody correct them in public. He said this is not arrogance, this is showing off. Because arrogance is rejection of truth all the time. But if he, in his private, if somebody told him in private, I think you made this mistake, and they accepted, and if they correct them in public, and then they get upset, he said this is showing off, riya, and he said riya has different remedy than arrogance. And how to do that? قالوا يذكر القلب بأن منفعته في كماله في ذاته وعند الله لا عند الخلق. He said that the person remind themselves that the greatness of their heart is to get the benefit of it in this dunya, and to have a person seek to improve their state, their hal, before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not necessarily before his creation. And of course, we spoke about that before in other chapter of this book. The second test, how to examine and test ourselves, أن يجتمع مع الأقران والأمثال في المحافل ويقدمه على نفسه ويمشي خلفهم ويجلس في الصدور تحتهم، وإن ثقل ذلك عليه فهو متكبر فيواظب عليه تكلفا حتى يسقط عنه ثقله بذلك يزيله الكبر. يعني he says that, say you walk into a social gathering and you are a CEO, you are a president of a company, you are the Imam, you are a Sheikh, whatever it is, and you insist that to be seated in a particular place. That's a sign of arrogance. He said, let other people sit, and you sit next to them, and wherever there's a place available. But he says later here, because I tried to memorize this part of the book. This part of the book, because I think it's talked about my professions as Imam. We have problems with Imams, you know that? We have problems with Imam and the scholars. That's why he's talking to us. And this and another book Imam al-Ghazali have called الدخول على السلاطين. I read that a lot. Entering in the presence of people of power, rulers. What do you do when in the presence of rulers? Imam al-Ghazali talk about الدخول على السلاطين. Because أنا ممتحن بهذا, ابتلى بهذا, been tested with this in my life, you know. He says, يجتمع مع الأقران والأمثال, in gathering with his peers, that by the being doctors, being people who work with us in businesses and so forth. He says, is to break the arrogance, let people go ahead of you. You know, go ahead. You don't have to. But he says, there's a trick of shaitan. You know, too much humiliation of oneself is not humility, it's arrogance. Listen carefully. Say you went to a gathering, and somebody says, please sit here. They give you a seat in the first row with your peer. Say you went to a business meeting, and all your colleagues sitting in the first row. And he said, no, I'm going to sit in where the shoes are. I'm going to sit in the back. He said, this is not arrogant. You want to show that you are too humble. That's not acceptable, he said. That's a trick from shaitan. Sit in the same row, but you don't have to sit in a particular place. He said, the minute shaitan comes to you, says, no, subhanallah, I'm going to sit in the back, I'm going to sit in the ground, I'm going to sit on the floor. He said, shaitan come to you because now you become a focus of people. Please come, please don't sit there. He said, it become a problem. If somebody teaching the class here, and I come and sat there, this is not showing arrogance. It's showing that everyone's sitting, I'm sitting. But everyone's sitting on the chair, and I'm going to sit on the floor, and this colleague, friend of mine, or colleague who teaching, said, why, Imam, you sit on the floor, and there's a chair available? I said, no, I want to be humble. That's not humble. You put attention to yourself. You get my point? Like, you see the psychoanalysis? He said, don't do that, he said.
قال فيكون إذ يوهمون أنهم تركوا مكانهم بالاستحقاق والتفضل فيكونوا قد تكبر.
He said that you have a place available and you can sit on it, and if a person does not do that, then that's arrogance.
بل ينبغي أن يقدم أقرانه ويجلس بجانبه.
Let people go ahead of you, but sit next to them, he said.
ولا ينحط عنهم إلى صف النعال.
You don't go and sit where the shoes are, he said. And ni'al means shoes. His approach is very balanced. So that a person does not do something. That's why he doesn't like intentionally the person wearing clothes has holes on them and so forth, so to show that there's zahid. He said that's arrogance. Imam Ghazali said that in the book. Tarqi'a. Like, so, subhanallah, I'm a miskin. He said that's showing off. It is not correct to do this.
الامتحان الثالث, the third test.
And this is the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam. All of these things, Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam sat whatever the available where he said, he took opinion, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, of his companions. Salman al-Farisi told him something that taught Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam he didn't know about the ditch, the trench, and Khabbab ibn al-Arat in Badr. He shared something with Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam that Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam was not aware of. That tawadu. He didn't say that, Rasulullah, what are you going to tell me? No, he learned from them, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. He accepted their advice and nasiha. And he used to tell them, Ashiru alayya, ayyuhan nas, ashiru alayya. Give me your opinion. Tell me what should we do in this issue? Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And when sometime their opinion was, like in Uhud, his opinion not to stay in Medina, and their opinion not to leave Medina, Rasulullah went along with the opinion, although he was opinion went to stay. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
الامتحان الثالث. الامتحان الثالث أن يجيب دعوة الفقير ويمر إلى السوق في حاجة الرفقاء والأقارب فإن ثقل ذلك عليه فهو كبر.
There are some people, the social gathering is all about class. Whom I'm going to accept the invitation from? Has to be doctors, has to be a lawyer, has to be a business person, has to be a wealthy person. But if a poor person invited me to their home, I will always turn it down. I find an excuse not to go. La ilaha illallah. Iyaka wa iyaka. Awliya ba'dhum awliya. You deprive yourself of visiting awliya. Wallahi. You miss a boat. Some of those people are awliya of Allah. You don't know them. They're hidden. And you miss it. In Day of Judgment, you say, subhanallah, that the person did not accept the invitation. He said, to accept the invitations of a poor person. Da'wat al-faqir. I told you before, Rasulullah accepted invitation from a person who invited him home, and he provided to Rasulullah dry bread with vinegar. Take the dry bread, dip it in the vinegar, and you eat it. No makluba, no biryani, there's no kabsa, there's nothing, That all that man has. But he wanted Rasulullah to honor his home, he wanted the honor of Rasulullah to come to his home. Rasulullah said, I'm going to come to you. And went and ate in his home. If Rasulullah were to order Medina to slaughter every day a camel for him, they would do that. Every day a sheep for him, they would do that. But he went to this man's home and he ate that dry bread with vinegar. He said, therefore, if he or she did not accept the invitation of a person they think is poor, it's a sign of arrogance. فإن هذه الأفعال من مكارم الأخلاق والثواب عليها جزيل. This is kind of actions is considered one of the best moral conduct, مكارم الأخلاق. And the reward for it is great reward. ونفور النفس عنها ليس إلا لخبث في الباطن. يا Allah. He said, if you reject an invitation of a poor person, there's impurity in our nafs. خبث. Impurity. فليشتغل بإزالته بالمواظبة عليه مع تذكر جميع ما ذكرناه من المعارف التي تزيل الكبر. That is, so the person then have to work hard to remove that arrogance and then continue to learn from what we have said of diagnosis of arrogance. طيب. The fourth test. الامتحان الرابع. أن يحمل حاجة نفسه وحاجة أهله ورفقائه من السوق إلى البيت. فإن أبت نفسه ذلك فهو كبر أو رياء. Especially famous scholar and entourage and so forth. He said, try to carry your own grocery from home, from the grocery place, because they used to see it like this, belittling a person. Rasulullah went to the souk, buy things for his family all the time. And actually, the Quran talks about it. وقالوا ما لهذا النبي يأكل الطعام ويمشي في الأسواق. So why this prophet eating food and go do shopping for his own family? They objected that it is humility. If the wife buying the grocery, the husband should carry the grocery. Sometimes the wife buy the grocery and the husband sit down in the home and she carrying all the bags and why? If the husband buy the grocery, he should buy the grocery and carry the grocery. Yusuf didn't like that. Now, humility. And this humility applies to male and female. There's some people come from a particular so-called class, and they go and sit in the gathering for a potluck, and they don't clean anything. They want to be served, whether male or female. Clean like anyone else, collect things like anyone else. What is the humility? فإن كان يدخل ذلك عليه مع خلو الطريق فهو كبر وإن كان لا يدخل عليه إلا عند مشاهدة الناس فهو رياء. He says, if a person does not carry the grocery, although no one see them, but still like, why I'm doing this? I should have hired somebody to carry my grocery or to do things for me. That's arrogance. But if this is only become difficult for him or her, when people looking at them, it is رياء, showing off. وكل ذلك من أمراض القلب وعلله المهلكة له إن لم تتدارك وقد أهمل الناس طب القلوب. What is the point Imam Ghazali making here? He's breaking the class system. This point, he says you have to break the class system. First class, middle class, lower class, no class. Have to break that, he says. This is nonsense. This is a human, mentality. I have seen my own eyes how people treat workers in Muslim communities and Muslim countries. They treat them like trash. With my own eyes. No one told me. They see a doorman, they don't even give salam. Carry this. Come in here. And sometimes, a friend of mine, he doesn't work for that hotel, but he is darker than me, skin. It happened. He was wearing full suit. A man comes and carrying my bag. And the brother told him, he's my colleague. He said, I don't work here. We were very calm. He said, I don't work here. I said, really? He said, yeah, I don't work here. But, you know, when to have someone to help you, you can ask for help. There's no, excuse me, please. Even if this is my work, my job, to carry your bag, why are you so down to me? Why are you looking down to me as if you're not a human being? If Allah flip it, and you become the person working that, become a doormat, and you're going to treat people like a doormat? This is arrogance. You cannot claim that you are practicing Muslims, and you treat people like that. People have drivers, and the way they talk to the drivers as if they're not human beings. Or they have maid or servant at home. You are talking to them as Islam prohibits for a person not to eat the same food. You have someone working for you at home, servant, said you eat the same food they eat. Can يجلسوا على مائدته? They have to them to sit and eat in the same plate. Can we do this? No. We've been taught differently. You have to treat those class like this. Otherwise, they were not listening. You have to abuse them. You have to look down to them. This is nonsense. Therefore, here Imam Ghazali said, people should remove that from their head. What if in Day of Judgment you find a person that whom you mistreated and you work for you and you think that they're lower class and ahead of you in paradise, they're in Firdaus al-A'la in your first degree? What are you going to say? Please, you should come down because I used to work for me. I want to go. Really? It's not going to work there. It's not going to work in Day of Judgment. He says that people have missed. He says, وكل ذلك من مراد القلب وعلله المهلكة له إن لم تدارك وقد أهمل الناس طب القلوب. And people neglected the medicine of the heart. طب القلوب. Because first they don't believe that they're sick. We don't believe that we are sick. We don't treat our hearts from the arrogance that we have. واشتغلوا بطب الأجساد. By the way, one time I was in a restaurant. It's a group of people, and I saw one of our group, maybe unintentionally, the way he talked to the waiters. I whispered in his ear, I said, the way you're talking to the waiters, please use the word please next time. They're like, don't bring this, bring that. No, not this, not that. I said, so why are you talking to them like that? Why are you talking to them like that? Even if you naturally believe that because you have money, you have rights, it's still this softening of the heart. Huh? And they knew they were Muslims who were sitting in the place and the servant, the waitress is not Muslim. We have to explain, we have to represent Islam. Yes. Yeah. The reason I talk to this person is my friend. And I know he will not get offended. And you tell them privately. If you said publicly, the person becomes defensive. Now you don't talk to them at the time. If you don't know the person, it might lead to another tension. It may embarrass the whole situation, embarrass the waiters themselves. If you don't make a scene in the restaurant, you let it go. Let it go, but make dua, say, may Allah guide this person. لكل مقام مقال وكل حديث حديث. For every situation, there's a particular way to speak, and you have to use the wisdom and discretions Or to say that, oh, this is the right time. No, it's not the right time. Because sometimes the situation might get worse. You know what I mean? You have to use the hikmah on that. Plus, some people used to believe that you should not live tips. Because they think that the waiter is being paid. Because they come from different culture. And I told them, put tips. They said, no, subhanAllah, they get paid. Why should I live the tips? Then I explained to an American culture that how much people get paid in doing this job. And he said, oh, I didn't know. I never paid tips. I said, subhanAllah. And you walk with the thobe like this. You walk out with the thobe like this. They said, like, you know, if we're wearing the thobe, like wearing the tire, immediately they say, oh, those guys. Subhanallah. You have to be careful. واشتغلوا بطب الأجساد. He said people become aware, occupied with the medicine of the body, but they forget the medicine of the heart. مع أن الأجساد قد كتب عليها الموت لا محالة. He's not saying that you should not seek medicine. He said, although the body is going to die anyway, والقلوب لا تدرك السعادة إلا بسلامتها. يا سلام. This should be written with the golden ink, what he's saying. He said the real happiness in a sound heart, clean heart. The real happiness lies in the sound heart. Because Allah says, إِلَّا مَنْ أَتَى اللَّهَ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ. Except those who come to Allah, يَوْمَ لَا يَنْفَعُ مَالٌ وَلَا بَنُونَ, the day that there's no money, no children benefit anyone, except the person who have come to Allah with a clean heart. إِلَّا مَنْ أَتَى اللَّهَ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ. ويروى عن عبد الله بن سلام أنه حمل حزمة حطب فقيل له يا أبا يوسف قد كان في غلمانك وبنيك ما يكفونك قال أجل ولكن أردت أن أجري بنفسي هل تنكر ذلك. Abdullah ibn Salam, he took a bunch of woods, he carried wood, and they said to him, you know, Abba Yusuf, your people work for you, or your children could have done that for you, your boys. He says, yes, I know they could have done it for me, but I want to see if my nafs will accept it, or will say, I should not have done it, somebody else should have done it for me. ولم يقنع منها بما أعطته من العزم على ترك الأنف حتى جربها هي صادقة أم كاذبة. He said he did not accept that his nafs telling him that you are not arrogant until he tested himself, tested his nafs. وفي الخبر من حمل الفاكهة أو الشيء فقد برئ من الكبر. And they said that there's a saying that whoever carried their own things, they have dealt with their arrogance. I'm going to say the fifth test and then we have question and answer. الامتحان الخامس أن يلبس ثيابا بذلة فإن ينفر الناس عن ذلك في الملأ رياء وفي الخلوة كبر. That's what I told you earlier. A person, the sign of arrogance, that a person will wear a cloth that you know it's not of what do you call high caliber, or he wear clothes to show off, both. Like there's something called thiyab al-shuhra. You heard this? Thiyab al-shuhra. Thiyab al-shuhra is a person goes in a place to say, I'm going to wear clothes that everybody when they walk in that door, they're going to say, wow, look at him. Not showing off, clothes of showing off. Libas al-shuhra. Wear nice clothes, decent clothes, but don't try to display wealth, impress people. Nor a person wearing clothes of trying to show that they're humble. You know, the party, wedding party, and intentionally walking with a t-shirt. So I don't care. I'm humble. Really? That's insulting to the event. There's not humility there. This is really distorted idea of humility. You know? Especially a person can afford to wear that clothes. وكان عمر بن عبد العزيز رضي الله عنه له مسح يلبسه بالليل. He used to have mishun, and mish is a cloth made of wool, which is the wool is very rough because they used to make it out of the hair of the animals, and it's not refined like we used to do. But he used to wear it at night, not during the day. Why? During the day, he wore regular clothes. He break his nafs at night by himself, not in front of people. You know, Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq رضي الله عنه نال البيت عليهم السلام. A man visited him, and he found him wearing nice clothes. He said, "You are from Ahl al-Bayt, wearing nice clothes like this. Why, like, you should wear more humble clothes, like old clothes or something like that." He said, "Why?" Then he lifted his pillow, and he showed him a rough cloth. He said, "I wear this when you are not here. لبسنا هذا لكم ولبسنا هذا لله." He said, "I wear this for people and I wear this for Allah, the one under the pillow." Subhanallah. فما كان للناس وما كان لكم أظهرناه وما كان لله أخفيناه. What was for Allah, that we hide it, and for people. فقال صلى الله عليه وسلم: إنما أنا عبد آكل بالأرض وألبس الصوف وأعقل البعير وألعق أصابعي وأجيب دعوة المملوك ومن رغب عن سنتي فليس مني. This hadith is a combination of hadith. Rasulullah sallam, sometimes he eat sitting on the floor, sometimes wear wools, and he tied his own camel, and lick his fingers when he eat, and respond to a servant or people who are being freed from slavery, former slaves. And he said, "This is my sunnah." وروى أن أبا موسى الأشعري قيل له إن أقواما يتخلفون عن الجمعة بسبب ثيابهم فلبس عباءة فصلى فيها بالناس. سبحان الله. Abu Musa al-Ash'ari, that they said that people told him that there's some people not coming to Jum'ah because of their humble clothes. They wear it, should have been Jum'ah like that. But he wore it humble clothes so that encourage other people to come. Just come to Jum'ah. وهذه مواضع يجتمع فيها الرياء والكبر. There's certain places showing off and arrogance intersect. How? Arrogance is rejection of truth and belittling people. That's the definition. Hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Riya is to do something not for sake of Allah, for acknowledgement of people, for seeking people recognition. Where they intersect? They intersect when a person wants to belittle somebody in public to humiliate them, so that he does show off of that he knows and the other person doesn't. That both double jeopardy. That the person arrogance and showing off at the same time, displaying knowledge and making fun and belittling somebody else. That is a combination of two things. One, if misunderstanding of oneself, Adam Ma'rifat al-Nafs, enlarging oneself more than it should. And the second is misunderstanding the status of people, how you should treat people, because that person may be mistreating better in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than me. That's in the Quran. يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا يسخر قوم من قوم
عسى يكون خير منه ولا نساء من نساء عسى يكون خيرا منهن. Do not let a group of men making fun of another group of men. Maybe that people will make fun of them better than you in the eyes of Allah. No, let women believe in other women because maybe if you belittle, maybe better than you in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Therefore, it is a combination of two. I would like to stop here with any questions. Because next week we're going to talk about how to exercise, how to train oneself on humility. Because you see, there's something called physical gym for muscles, and there's the spiritual muscles. Each one of those things require particular muscles. If a person learn to get rid of arrogance, it hurts sometimes when a person has been doing it for a long time. Huh? You go to the gym and they assign you sometime personal trainer. I used to have a personal trainer. He used to boss me around. Like, don't stop Imam Magid, keep running. No, that way I quit. That way, you know. Really, you have to have discipline on that. In spirituality, there's muscles. Some of us have problem with arrogance. Some of us have problem with anger. Some of us have problem with showing off. Some of us have... Each of those problems, in order to get rid of them, you have to increase our ability of resisting it. And resisting it, that needs to increase our spiritual muscles, which is going to hurt in the beginning. It's going to hurt. But as we do it often and push ourselves, then we come to a point that becomes easy for us to do it. Especially anger, arrogance, sometimes the issue of missing particular nawafil or sunan. And it requires, increase our muscles and resilience. Any questions? No questions? Or objections? Or anything I said? Yes. The five finish this chapter, and the other things we're going to do next week is the sign of how to train ourselves to gain humility. Those are the Imam Ghazali mentioned 5, and we finish all of them, alhamdulillah. I fulfilled actually your husband suggestions, who is to finish it, and I finished it. Yes. Any other question? No? There's no questions? This revive Imam Ghazali, revive Islamic science. Yes.
Imam, you were talking about arrogance from Islam.
Yes. And people of knowledge in general. Could be CEOs, could be doctors, anyone have knowledge.
So, my nephew are in their 20s. Graduated from university. They find the charismatic Imam online. And the charismatic Imam is telling them what's haram, what's halal, living in a different country, and telling them what to do with politics. At what point is the Imam's fault for their arrogance, and at what point is it our mistake for listening?
Yes, they're very good questions. How we direct young people not to follow in the trap of just internet personalities. There's certain people we have to know, we get to know. We know their track, we know their history. We can give recommendation to our children. You can say to the children, I want to listen Sheikh Yasser Qadi, Umar Sulaiman, Sheikh Hamza Yusuf. A particular shiukh. Tell them those are the shiukh that we know from America, they grew up with us and we know who they are. Redirect them.
Because sometimes you go to this internet and you don't know who you're listening to, you end up completely in the different route. That's how violence extremism we created. Because not everyone has a microphone and speak eloquently is the right place to take knowledge from. That's why I say to people, this is my advice. As much as you can, take the recommendation of your local Imam, whom to learn from online. Learn from offline, the Imam who's offline, to teach you whom you can learn from also online. Because they should be familiar with some reliable sources or resources of learning with Islam, inshallah. هذا وسبحانك اللهم وبحمدك لا اله الا انت استغفرك واتوب اليك. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر ان الانسان لفي خسر الا الذين امنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. جزاكم الله خير. السلام عليكم.